Okay, welcome back to the Are You Strong show. I have a awesome guest on today, and before I tell you who it is, I'm just going to kind of give a little couple accolades of where this young man has been and kind of where he's at now. But he's a Jersey guy, Montclair, New Jersey. You know, the homegrown. Went up to Syracuse, played some football up there. And I'm not sure if these stats are accurate, but he was ranked 13th in all-time receiving, with over 1,200 yards. Um, Blocked six punts. I don't know if anyone ever blocks one in their career, let alone six. Right? That is cool. I want to get into that a little bit. But lettered 4 years at Syracuse. But what I really like to read about with these young men is that he was on the all athletic director honor roll academically. And that shows you who these young men are. But what was cool, drafted in the sixth round by the New York Giants, okay, and selected to the Pro Bowl, first team All Pro, All Rookie team, Super Bowl champion, and now I'm gonna you'll know who he is when I say the helmet catch. Welcome to the show, David Tyree.
Hey man, that was a roaring intro. It made me feel like I accomplished a few things. Appreciate
Yeah, you got a couple things done in your career.
it.
But hey, listen, welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here. I have a number of questions to ask you, but before I do that, why don't you just tell the audience who doesn't know who you are, which I don't know who that might be in New Jersey, but a little bit about yourself, and we'll kind of roll from there.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's simple. I'm homegrown, Essex County kid from East Orange to Montclair. Changed my life trajectory. I mean, what most of my life has been respectably documented in the sense of traditional struggles and what I call athlete vices, women, alcohol, marijuana. And I was just fortunate that football gave me guardrails. It gave me a sense of identity and purpose as a young man, and really carried me through until the NFL. And I wouldn't even say it was really pressures. It was really just me. I think I just kind of came to the end of myself after success on the field, and but really a true lack of purpose, even though I'm supposed to be at the height of success. So I think when I was after my rookie year, I had a turning point, pivot point, where purpose really aligned with, my sense of desire to do something significant. So, but I'm honestly, I'm just a regular dude at 24. That was a big climax moment because my faith came into the picture, and I would say a true sense of sobriety about what a meaningful life began as a very young man. And I've just been fortunate. I got a wife of 21 years, seven amazing children. Transition from post career from my athletic career to professional career because a healthy identity was fairly seamless. So it's been an amazing journey. 15 years homeschooling, business, still growing, still learning.
Right. Well, listen, I have so many things to ask you, and I'm going to bounce around a little bit.
Go for it.
We're going to go from coming out of high school. We're going to talk about Syracuse, talking about the Giants, but I really want to get into what you're doing now,
Sure.
and the impact you're making on people. And you talk about faith and giving, when you're building a business, when you're into your faith, it's really not about you.
No.
It's about who you're helping, supporting, guiding, keep teaching, coaching, and really what are you giving to them, right?
Sure.
You know?
100%. Being an athlete, you kind of it's a privilege, right? And I think what I love about faith and service is really, you hear servant leadership, and if I look at, Christ is my kind of my north view, and he doesn't say that we can't be great. He said he who is greatest of all is servant of all. So if you want to be great, you become a servant.
Yeah.
And, that's not always natural, but it's always an opportunity to put yourself in position to add value to someone's life.
Yeah.
And I think, what is inherent as a person of influence, fortunate as an athlete, you get a little bit of a head start where you understand who much is given, much is required. So you do get a head start in understanding that, hey, man, when you're looked to, you want to have a good, you want your character to align with your gifts.
Yeah.
And I think I've been fortunate to work some of those things out, fail quickly, but not be, stricken by it. So yeah, my life throughout has had the threads, but I think from the moment my faith came, then it was, man, what's in light of me now being a follower of Christ, how can I emulate this servant
Yeah.
leadership? And
And it's not easy, right? It's not easy to keep
no,
giving.
Well, get yourself a family. You'll find out how hard it
Yeah.
is. Take a wife and you'll
Yeah.
get in the trenches and you have to
Yeah.
be responsible for people. It's
Sure.
not just serving, it's actually will you take ownership? And I think being willing to jump in those kinds of heavy arenas, I always celebrate young men who get married
Yeah.
because it's the most selfless thing that you can do.
Yeah.
And then you have a family. It's the most selfless thing that you can do. But it's also the most rewarding. It will stretch you. And I think that was a big part of my journey, but even more so, how does that extend outside of my own ecosystem, family unit,
Yeah.
into my community and others? And again, so it's like you always want to do these things, but will you be committed to it? And I'm very simple, man. If you could commit to it, then the next thing you have to do is make the necessary sacrifices. All
Yeah.
sacrifices aren't good, but all sacrifices do have a return. So
Yeah.
it's just been, like I said, it's been a lot. I've been able to mentor, disciple a number of people through the years, marketplace leaders, of course, athletes, people in my own sphere of influence, but mostly I've had the same kind of people come alongside, and I don't start anything unless I actually have a mentor. I don't
Yeah.
start anything unless I have someone who's actually going to teach me.
Yeah.
So it's a principle that's worked well for me, and just still getting better.
Cool. So who's been influential in your life? I mean, you got so many stops along the way. You must have a ton of people.
I think there's been a few, and because I would say I've always been wired to go deep in relationship. As a young man, I kind of was really, when you're an athlete, you get the opportunity to transact pretty often. I mean, like, hey, can you come here and attend my event,
Yeah.
and we're gonna, we can honor you and do some amazing things, and that's good stuff. That's
Yeah.
it's the opportunity to be of service just by virtue of your influence is wonderful. But transaction was surface level. So I was always looking for meaningful, deeper relationships. So I
Yeah.
would say there's been a few along. My strength coach changed my life radically because I think he was one of the first people that really believed in me when I just hit those. I'm not the prototypical wide receiver. I wasn't quick, but I actually had good, solid skill sets. I think coaching staff didn't favor me, but he breathed life into me. So we're still close to this day. Next person, of course, my father's my hero, and I think it takes becoming a man to really respect a man.
Yep.
And grew up in a divorced home, so he wasn't in the home. But my dad was the family guy, and he could have probably done a lot more in the marketplace, but he didn't want to lose that proximity to his family. So
Hmm.
I always tell people my father is my hero not because he was perfect, but because he did his best. And it helps us to resolve the imperfections that we can have as we're growing up in this world, still learning. And I think the third person I would probably highlight is he's actually House of Representatives in North Carolina. We just were really spiritually and aligned as men who really love God, but I guess you could say we had some testicles too. So
Hmm.
it could get a little weird when you come into the faith. I wasn't raised in the church, so
Yep.
I think we're entering stages and conversations where, especially in minority communities, so many broken families, so many
Yeah.
single parent homes, and church has looked effeminate through the years. So Brian Echeverria is a House of Representative of North Carolina. He's just a dynamic man, and he's been another figure that shaped my life. So, but certainly there's others that just come along and add a supply.
Yeah. Yeah. So talk about that. You mentioned your faith. I know that's big for you.
Sure.
But you said you didn't grow up in a church household. How
Yeah.
did that transition happen? How did you find it, and how did it make you who you are now?
Yeah, I think I had two well-meaning, supportive parents who, just like I said, they truly weren't God-fearing. They probably were raised in some faith. Maybe they were turned off, I would assume, in some ways. It's easy.
Yeah.
Um, so, so they kind of gave me the green light out, and I think, we had morals and values, and were instructed, and they did their best for us. I had working class parents, one at Revlon, and my mom worked for Verizon. So, good working class, hardworking parents. And they put me in position for success. So I think but as far as, I think my mom had this kind of worldly wisdom where it's like, kids are going to do stupid things. So I'd rather have them doing stupid things in my own house. My mom actually bought my alcohol when I was all through high school. So I started drinking 14. And I would say by junior year, I'm drinking a 40 ounce, half a pint of Jack Daniels, and I smoke a blunt every single week. Like my weekends were filled with drinking. So like it wasn't until college where I would say it was really concerning. Like in high school, those were some of the risks my generation was taking.
Yeah.
Risk today is more online and cyber, but
Yeah.
I think that's when the blackout started, and even myself, I became uncomfortable with not knowing what might have happened the night before through
Yeah.
college. So yeah, again, sports was my guardrail. So even though I certainly had my run-ins with the law through middle school, I think I hit a period where like I need to switch up my crowd, and
Yeah.
even though my group of friends through high school, we were our own kind of wild. We weren't going to be the gangsters trying to shoot, rob, and steal, and
Yeah.
destined to get locked up. So we were fools, but certainly, had a sense of direction and trying to do something. And I was fortunate for football to give me that. But yeah, I was certainly just a slave to my own desires, my own ambitions, and alcohol, marijuana, and women were my kryptonite. And thank God for my love for the game, because that's probably the only thing that caused me, like, the fear of losing the game is
Yeah.
probably the only thing that would bring me back into some
Yeah.
sense of guardrails. So yeah, it was really just after I got drafted. I became a special teams ace at Syracuse. No one goes to a Division I school to be a special teams guy. People ask me all the time,
Mhm. Yeah.
and it's very simple. I was not going to be the guy that was going to be content in waiting his turn. So I'm like, I got to make an impact.
Yeah.
I belong in the game. I belong on the field. So that's how special teams came. I'm just like, I'm going to run down the kickoff and knock somebody's head off. And
Yeah.
so I was more of a football player than just as much as I had, a wide receiver skill set. And I was fortunate because at 21 years old, I'm finding out I'm going to have a child. And that was actually the first time where I considered the NFL, because I wasn't overwhelmingly successful in college. So it wasn't really my dream. My dream was to play D1A ball.
Right.
And so I'm living my dream, but it's not really dreaming. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
at 21 years old, when Liala tells me she's pregnant, I'm like, man, how am I going to take care of this little guy? So yeah, it's just like I had a different sense of motivation now
Yeah.
moving into my senior year. And yes, of course, I had some success even at the wide receiver position, big game against Virginia Tech. And but I was a monster on special teams, and the Giants drafted me in the 6th round. And it's pretty simple. I exceeded all expectations for a guy who's a bottom of the roster guy, special teamer, and I showed some stuff as a wide receiver, and I get the accolades. I have a 100-yard game as a rookie coming off the bench, but at the end of the day, I was still a slave to money only intensified the lust in my own heart. So if I
Yeah.
desire women, now I was more attracted to women. I lusted after alcohol, got money to buy alcohol. So money didn't solve my problems; it only actually intensified them,
It magnified them.
just magnified them.
Yeah.
And so that was it. I think when Jim Fossil was our head coach my rookie year, and at the end of the season, because I deserved it, he hit me with about $10,000 worth of fines, and it should have been about 40. So he kind of took it easy on me. And so I'm the Mr. Keep It
What
Real guy.
kind of things are they finding you for? What are you doing that
Oh
you shouldn't
man,
be
just
doing?
showing up late, missing
Yeah.
meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm drunk. I crashed twice, once on the way into work. I
Ugh.
mean, I'm just reckless. I'm reckless. I'm out there. I'm home. I moved my mom downstairs. I live in Montclair. I mean, I'm just back with my own guys. That was the kiss of death for me.
Yeah.
Probably would have worked better if I was outside of my own environment as
Yeah.
opposed to in a native environment.
Right.
And so yeah, my character was exposed my rookie year, and I would say the road to Damascus moment was I decided, you know what, I just lost 10,000. I got the best bud. I'm gonna sell it. And so I come back home from Mardi Gras, hanging out with Ryan Clark, ESPN analyst. That was my only really close friend on the team. And I go get a pound of Purple Haze from New York City, and I get pulled over. And that was it. That was like, it was like in my head, I could hear dun 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 dun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was the first time I cried out to God in the jail cell, and I just said, God, all I know is I need you. If you allow me to keep my job, I'd appreciate that too. And yeah, within 2 weeks later, it was literally like a domino just falling. Things began to fall in place, and I'm in the back of a church. And all I can say is there was a woman. She's singing with so much joy in her face, and this script goes in my heart. And I'm 24 years old. NFL Special Teams Rookie of the Year, Giants Rookie of the Year. Every guy in here wanted to trade places with me, but I don't have the joy this woman has. And next thing you know, I crumbled in the back of the church. I wept, walk out. I never drank again. I never smoked again. And I was married 3 months later. I was a new person.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah. I tell people I was irreligious. I believed in the idea of God. I think creation is amazing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I think there has to be some explainable. So I was that sober, but everything else was just to each his own. And
yeah,
but I found that Jesus Christ is alive and he's real and he saved me. And so my introduction to faith wasn't through the scriptures. I thank God for the scriptures, but it was through an encounter.
yeah,
And that encounter led me to understand that these things are true, verifiable, and by the power of his Holy Spirit, I could be free, not from sin. I could be free from the bondage. I could be free from even my own ambitions and ideas. And
yeah,
I think that's, everything that ails us as humans is us. We're just
yeah,
broken. And so it was great to know that there is hope, and that's what people need, hope every single
yeah.
day.
Now, how'd you end up in the church that day? Like, what brought you there?
It was actually my aunt, like after the arrest, and I had a
Did she have to
rap.
drag you there, or were you like, okay, I'll go, let's
No,
go?
I think at that point I was like, well, who are you to turn down church at this?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
It's like like I think I've always had a sense of sobriety, even though I was, struggling with alcohol. Man, like when I got arrested, like I didn't have parents that were authoritative. So they let me butt my head against the wall. So what it did, it led to high accountability personally because I couldn't blame my parents.
right.
Like they gave me the freedom to make decisions. And they would look at me like I was stupid. They would reprimand and do their best to discipline according to their
Yeah,
beliefs or whatever. But it did give me a high sense of like, bro, this ain't working.
yeah,
Like, and
yeah,
so I think you should be able to assess your decision making in ways where this is not working. Like
yeah,
I want to be productive. I want to be well. I want to be strong. I want to be healthy.
yeah,
And when I'm in jail at 24 years old, after having everything that the world says a young man should have, something's not right. So
yeah.
she invited me that next week after, and as soon as I got out of jail, we weren't married obviously at the time, but my wife, she tells me she's pregnant, and that's not the news you're looking for in jail. So I was crushed. I was crushed under the weight of life and my own poor decisions,
Yeah.
and I'm thankful that God came and rescued me when I cried out to Him.
So, I mean, I appreciate the fact and that you're sharing all this.
Oh yeah,
Now, as a football fan, me, right? I'm a college footballaholic. I watch if I had enough TVs in my house, I'd watch every game, and this is my favorite time of the year.
I love it.
But, I'm always watching ESPN, the highlights, the news, the wires. I don't remember seeing any of this about you anywhere unless I just missed it.
Yeah, I
Right?
think in my day, you talking about 2004. So the
Yeah.
news was I'm not making news, right?
Yeah, but
Like
you were on the Giants. Like I figure I would have heard about that. You're down
yeah.
the street.
It was in the paper. We still have the papers like all in a
Yeah.
like we tell my dad actually loves keeping clippings,
Yeah.
and he has this great clipping binder and everything else, and everything's in there, even the arrest, right? It's,
Okay.
it's awesome. And I'm thankful that I've never been ashamed of my story. It's like I didn't realize what a gift it is to not be imprisoned by shame, and everybody has their own way of walking out shameful moments.
Yeah.
And but I was once I got free, and I realized I could empower people to realize that they could be free,
Yeah.
right? That they don't have to be in prison, whether it's to, alcohol addiction, substance abuse, even mistreatment of women, whatever it is. Like everybody's got something that they're either enslaved to or working through. And
Yeah.
and I think that's the whole goal, is that you can overcome. And
Yeah.
that was like a mini microcosm, because even coming into the faith, it was violent. I had some I had some, psychotic episode within the first month of me coming to the faith that was alarming. So, that's all told in the old book that I have called More Than Just a Catch, where I really share my story up to the Super
Yeah.
Bowl. So I'm working on some other book projects, but I'm looking forward to, just sharing more. It's been a great
Yeah.
journey.
I mean, you got a ton. I mean, your story. Well, I mean, I'm hearing all this stuff for the first time. Like, holy crap. So let me ask you this, and I don't mean to put you on the spot,
No, it's easy.
but you said you had some issues at Syracuse partying and stuff like that. You're with the Giants. Like, what did they do? Did they see it? Did they try to pull you out of it? Did they try to help you? Like, how did that go?
Yeah, I think there's resources. There's so many resources, but anyone else has to ask for help. I think,
Yeah,
pride, there's a positive pride, there's a negative pride. And I
yeah,
think the negative pride is so insidious and detrimental because
yeah,
you have so much confidence in self. But it takes humility and it takes a sense of vulnerability to ask for help.
yeah,
Right. And I never, when, what I've, I worked for about 8 years in athlete development, front office for the Giants. And,
yeah,
and so what I would tell people is everything and every decision that brings a professional athlete to the National Football League is now reinforced once they make it because it didn't cost them anything. So whether
right.
it's smoking marijuana, whether it's alcohol, whether it's women, I'm talking about, these are all personal decisions. I call them, some become sins, but these
Yeah,
are all personal decisions that could have a cost or on your career. It could be a
yeah,
detriment to your career, how you spend your time. So what I would say to them is, it's going to be so much harder to get that guy to change because it didn't cost him anything prior to. Now
right.
he's reached the climax of his dream, and being abusive, and angry and malicious and all these negative character traits didn't cost him his dream. So it's going to be that much harder to dig that hole and reach that kid
Yeah,
because here he is. Who I am is what got me to this place.
yeah,
So I think those are some of the challenges that most guys are going to deal with.
yeah.
Some resources are there, but again, it
You got to
didn't.
be resourceful with the resources,
There you go. You got to
you
know
know?
where they are. You got to actually
Yeah,
have to believe that you actually need some help
yeah,
and that you need to grow. But
right.
athletes are high performers, and there's not a lot of time for those. Like those are like extracurricular resources, right? You're
Yeah,
here to play.
yeah,
So at the professional level, there's so much work getting done, but the resources are there, and so are the people in those roles.
yeah. So what was a harder transition for you? And this might sound silly, but going from Montclair, you went to Montclair High School, right? Going from there to Syracuse or from Syracuse to the Giants. What was a tougher transition?
Definitely from high school to college, and,
Right.
and not from a sense of like I think from speed of the game, the demand, the learning, it was such, like you had to, the jump was so great,
Right.
in talent. And so when it comes to like why I'm here and I'm reaching my dream, and the next thing you know, Donovan McNabb is throwing darts and you can't catch anything, and the offense is overwhelmingly complex. So that's the speed, the talent, everybody on so much equal footing.
Yeah.
That's the bigger jump. I think the jump, Syracuse was so intense from a mental component, it was
Yeah.
actually pretty easy to transition into the National Football League. Some things
Right.
were actually simplified from college to the NFL. And what I will say, and this is probably true in general, the players who are overwhelmingly successful in college are just overwhelmingly talented, right? It's a
Yeah.
talent game in college. And the NFL, everybody's immensely talented.
Yeah.
So it's really a mental game. The guys who can think quicker play faster.
Yeah.
And that's where you see a greater separation at the professional level. And that's what actually gave a guy like me a chance because I was a respectably high IQ football player.
You're a hyper learner.
That's it. You got to dig in. You
Yeah.
got to adapt. You learn conceptually. So if you can think, if you can learn conceptually,
Yeah.
then you can play more positions. You can do more. You can add more
Yeah.
value. And I tell people the lasting power in the NFL is getting good at something very quickly because you're going to be disposable by 3 or 4 years from a monetary standpoint. I mean, like, so for me, it was obviously special teams.
Yeah.
That's what got me in there. And that was my superpower. You might be a defensive tackle and all you do is plug the run. You just fill that A gap. You might not be good at anything else.
Yeah.
But if you're so good at it, then you have staying power in a league like that. And it gives you the chance to buy time to get better at other things.
But is blocking six punts an NCAA record? Gotta be.
Now, I wish it was. The funny thing was, it's actually tied for the school record. But I actually have a seventh. Instead of blocking the punt in a bowl game against Kansas State, I tackled the punter because he dropped it. So in my mind, I actually have seven. But
What do they count as? A sack?
they counted. Since he dropped it, and I chose just to hit him because he's a free hit. I could have blocked it, but it was just like might as well nail the sucker.
Yeah.
But I theoretically have seven.
Yeah.
Um, But statistically, it still looks good. Me and Steve Gregory were tied for the school record. I don't know what the NCAA record, but it was a niche, man. It's one of the greatest plays in football. It's so
Yeah.
impactful, momentum killers. I think what's pretty neat about mine is I was able to block a punt against Virginia Tech for 3 years straight. So it was, and at the time they were known as the best special teams, Beamer Ball.
Yeah.
You're a Big East, you're a Rutgers guy, so we
Yeah.
kind of lived through some of that as opponents. But it was an amazing. I love being a football player more than I love being a wide receiver.
Yeah. How about blocking field goals? None of those?
They ain't let me at it, man. I
No?
promise I would have got one.
How would they know? How would they not put you on there?
They let me play around for 1 second, but they were because typically you have to know the defense and be prepared
Yeah.
for defensive calls if there's fakes. So that might be, but they should, because I was an edge rusher as opposed to, every now and then you might put somebody in who's really athletically
Yeah.
and jump to try to block a kick, but I didn't have any hops. I was the black guy who can't jump.
All right. So memorable moments. Obviously, we can pick the one. But let's go
Sure.
back to Syracuse. Is there any one moment that just stands out that when you were there, like hey man, what I'm doing here, I can do it the next level? Was there a time in was it your freshman year, junior year, we say this moment's really making me who I am and what my future's going to be?
What my future's going to be, I think the niche came out early in relation to the block kicks. Um, my sophomore year, I actually took a punt off the Buffalo kicker's foot and ran in the end zone. Um, but I think that if there's the memorable full service who I always saw myself as, it was my senior year against Virginia Tech, 9 catches for 229 yards, zero touchdowns, couldn't get in the zone, and I blocked my third punt in 3 years against Virginia Tech. So we had an abysmal season, but obviously Virginia Tech was a top five team,
Yeah.
and it was kind of like just a statement game. It was a comprehensive game, and we got a big win that kind of at least gave us some win and some respect in a disappointing season.
All right. So transition to NFL. Everybody in college is big. Are they any bigger in the NFL or pretty much the same? They're just faster.
You know, that's a good question. I wouldn't say bigger. I think what you find is the quality of play. I mean, like the quality, because you'll have some guys. It's well known, like Antonio Pierce. He didn't even look like a football player. Yeah, I mean, like he had bad body, man, bad body
Yeah.
Pierce. Um, so I think what you find is this again this IQ component, and then
Yep.
you got some mutants. I can be honest with you. There's just some guys like the Plaxico Burress of the world, 6'5", 230 pounds.
Yeah.
Never seen him get kept caught from behind. There's just some. There's always going to be this small portion of players that are mutants.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're starting to see more and more mutants in light of bigger, faster, stronger in today's game. When I'm in the front office role and I see Odell Beckham, I think he was the greatest. He was the most talented athlete that I visually saw
Yeah.
with my own eyes. Could throw the ball 50 yards with both hands, could kick with both feet.
Just a
Snatch
freak of nature.
just stupid. It was
Yeah.
just like, what's going on here? So I think at the pro level, there's special talents, but in general, what separates those guys is their mental resolve
Yeah.
and staying power. Like the guys who play past the 3 or 4 years, there has to be something that keeps you overcoming, and giving you that capacity to keep
Yeah.
those young puppies off your heels.
I mean, do you think it's their attention to detail in the off season, their attention to discipline of just staying completely ridiculously focused?
Absolutely. To simplify it, it's the mental resilience
Yeah.
just as much as it is the physical ability.
Yeah.
For staying power, you have to be so because there's so many other factors now because you're not insulated through college. College. It's all the marbles are on the line in the National Football League. There's only 53 roster spots as
Yeah.
opposed to 85 scholarships. Are you going to get in the game? Everybody is theoretically a starter. You're the starter or a starter on special teams, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so like, and then you have guys who have roles. So there's no one that, like, you might not be a star. You could go as an under the radar player in a National Football League for so years and play 10 years, but it's a overwhelming achievement to continuously make that roster when you think about the average lifespan being 3.2 years.
Yeah.
So it's definitely the resilience because it's the constant demand for excellence and
Yeah.
understanding that these teams every year are going to be looking for more and more competition. So obviously the Giants aren't really good at putting together great teams right now. There's other teams that are better.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the mental and physical matrix of it all. Who has the
Yeah.
character, who has the physical abilities, but also who has the mental resilience
Yeah.
to make it, but also make it in a city like New York as opposed to a city like
Yeah.
Green Bay, right?
Yeah.
There's all kinds of different factors to why certain clubs and teams are successful.
I mean, you got the microscope here that's just worse than any other part of the world.
Not even close.
You
It's
know,
just
like,
not.
so what was that like for you? I mean, if you go back to like your the drinking and smoking days,
Yeah,
and the whole world's following you around, Now, when you quit that, was that before the catch or after the catch?
it was before the catch. I
Okay.
mean, I was done after my rookie year. I think
Okay.
that's who I was from 14 to 24.
Yeah.
And, I think, no one was, we weren't really here having conversations. Obviously, mental health has been the conversation for the last decade.
Yeah.
I think, marijuana was a form of getaway, right?
Yeah.
Drugs are a form of escape from what? Pain. Some kind of pain, pain of
Yeah.
rejection, whatever kind of pain you're
Yeah.
dealing with, people are trying to escape their pain. And I think that is the simplified way that so many of us through that time period dealt with that, or just the fear of rejection, right? Like, man, how do I
Yeah.
fit in?
Yeah.
Social things, social reality, peer pressures, all these things that we hear about. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it was after. So that's who I was up to my rookie year.
Yeah.
And once I had a sense of purpose, I wanted to be better. I used to think about what kind of athlete I could be if I
Yeah.
wasn't putting poison in my body.
Yeah.
I would think about what kind of father I could be if I was able to commit to my son's mother,
Yeah.
right? I think you have real musings, and when people are having struggles in their life, most people they aspire to be something better than they are today,
Yeah.
but we're in bondage and enslaved to ideas, constructs,
Yeah.
and patterns. So how
Yeah.
do you get free from them? And like I said, we just need help. We need people. We need God. And again, it takes some humility. So from that point on, I think I was trending in ways where I think I had a new sense of identity, a new sense of purpose, knowing that I could be like being free was overwhelming. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, life sober's better,
Yeah.
right? Like being able to honor this amazing woman who's, and not mistreat her, not choose myself over her. It was so much more gratifying.
Yeah.
But I think when you get hurt as a young, hurt people hurt people. You hear
Yeah.
these simplified statements. So it's great to break those cycles and begin to lay a
Yeah.
foundation for something great
Yeah.
for my kids and my
Yeah.
children's children.
I think when you really there's a moment in time for a man when they really end up looking at either their girlfriend or their wife
Yep.
with eye-opening respect is when you see them deliver a baby,
Woo, man.
right? It's like, what the heck is going on?
What is that?
Yeah. Like that is incredible, right?
Yeah, it is. And being a father, I tell people it changed my life
Yeah.
because I mean, it's hard not to be a selfish prick. You're young and you're driven,
Yeah.
and but even in college, seeing her deliver my son, and I was shamefully completely inebriated. I was blasted the night before,
Mm.
and it was actually one of my greatest failures. Like, she's going into labor, and I'm completely
Wasted.
inebriated, wasted.
Yeah.
And so I'm hung over in the morning, and I'm finally, by the time she's ready to deliver, I'm finally like coherent, respectably coherent, not smelling like a brewery. And I'm in there, and I'll never forget my son coming out the womb, and it was amazing because just for like a moment, I just saw myself,
Yeah.
and I'm looking. She actually had no She didn't even. I think she had a little Stadol, but no epidural.
Oh my God.
And but that was the last one where she didn't have any
Yeah.
epidural. So the first and our last children, she didn't have an epidural. And but I will say that like who she was just amazing.
Yeah.
The and at that moment it just like wow, my life is forever changed.
Yeah.
And I had the desire to be a better human from that time on. And I think that, again, yeah, there's you want marriage before the children, absolutely. But what I do tell people, especially young men, we need a sense.
Doesn't always work that way.
It doesn't always work that way. If
Yeah.
I tell people work it if you
Yeah.
can, because
Yeah.
yeah, you're sweating bullets, gasoline draws for the next few
Yeah.
years.
So tell me about when your son popped out and you connected eye contact with him for the first time. What was that like?
It, yeah, it was terrifying. I'll be honest with you. I'm not that kind of person, but I think the weight of it was real. The
Yeah.
weight of fatherhood was real. And then it was rewarding. And then it was like we're going to do this
Yeah.
because we're out of time here. When I say out, when we're out of, we're not in timing. When you tell your parents at 21 years old and you're in Syracuse University, and each family's over here trying to pursue a dream that probably hasn't been seen in their own families. For us,
Yeah.
yeah, that's disappointing. The conversation around abortion comes up, and
Yeah.
these things come up, and I had an abortion as a teenager, and I'll never forget the regret because one of my teammates, he had a daughter in high school, and I remember him seeing we stayed together for a summer, and his daughter coming up, and I just had the thoughts about the child that I terminated. And and not like this overwhelming sense of, but it's just like, man, he was brave enough to
Yeah.
bring his child to the world.
Right.
So I didn't want to do it, but I also didn't have the strength to tell her that, hey, I gave her the space, and we agreed that we were going to keep the child, and
Yeah.
it was the best decision. He changed my life. At 21 years old, I become a father, and for him, at 21 years old, he went to the Air Force, and stepped into manhood. So 21 is an awesome number for us, but it was the beginning of the man that I aspired to become.
Yeah. That's awesome. So what's it like? No more booze, no more drugs. What's it like being in the NFL now, and how did you change as a person going forward?
Oh man, I think I was radically in love with God, and it was a radical shift. So it took a couple years to kind of like find my bearings back into the locker room because
Yeah.
when you're religious, you're not welcome in the locker room. You can come off highly critical and judgmental, and I did. And I want people to go to heaven. I want people to know God. I want you
Did the
don't know how
locker
to.
room, what did the locker room really shun you? They didn't accept you that way?
In some ways, I think like when you throw in faith out there,
Yeah.
and people want to live their lives, and they're grown men, and we
Yeah.
honor.
They don't want to hear it.
I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
And there's a space for it. There's Bible studies and,
Yeah.
and all that other stuff. But when you might roll up on somebody and really challenge their way of living, and I have some bravery in it, but yeah, you take your little lumps. You got to figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
And but you have to be set apart. You got to make sure that you're not drowning in the pool that once took you out. So the easy thing for me was I lived, I was in church twice, there was never a time, obviously I'm not during the season, not on Sunday, but I'm in there for prayer on Tuesday. I'm in there for a midweek service.
Yeah.
And I was grounded. I was grounded in family. I didn't have the distractions that I previously had, and I had a sense of purpose. So I think I was hungry. I tell people desperation is the root of motivation.
Yeah.
Desperation, and most people, we're in a satisfied nation. Even
Yeah.
our people on welfare got iPhones, right? Like
Yeah.
even the people who struggling got great
Yeah.
access to. So it's hard to tap into that, but I think I tapped into that in my brokenness,
Yeah.
and that's I was just hungry for God, and so yeah, I think that being able to lay a healthy foundation for my family was really satisfying. And yeah, by my third season, I was all pro. Um, and I mean, obviously, my fifth season is the Super Bowl run. So I think I was just seeing God rework and rewrite a script in my life,
Yeah.
and all I wanted to do was honor Him, and
Yeah.
and just see us, do my best to to have an impact and honor him.
Yeah. So how did the catch change your life? I mean, I watched it live. It was holy crap. Did he really catch that? Did he really do that? What
Yeah.
was it like before that as a man, as a player, as a father? What was it like after that?
I think I've always been respectably genuine. Like I've never been into like limelight.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that so it was easy being me. It was easy. I was like, hey man, I'm gonna be the best special teams player and I'm gonna prove that I can play wide receiver in this league. And that was typically my goal. So by my third season, I win a third wide receiver spot, but it really doesn't hit off statistically. They end up benching me or, kind of taking me out that role like week 4, week 5. But I make all pro and I get the chance to give glory to God. And I think I had to work out that journey of politics over the next couple of years because I knew I could play, but they didn't want me to play. And so, they wanted some sexier guys in there.
Yeah.
I'm old reliable. I'm like old 1970 wide turns, like
Yeah.
they want the
Yeah.
Lamborghinis. So, and I think by the time we moved toward the Super Bowl, I'll never forget, it's First Timothy 6:6 says, godliness with contentment is great gain. And there were some times where I didn't handle some of the politics well, and I think I just determined that I was really going to offer my best and keep a peace of mind when things don't go my way. You
Yeah.
know, um, and I threw some pity parties, head down, hoodie on, when things got tough in the past. But that 5th year, I had some injuries early on, so I missed the first couple games. But I had a sense that something special was going to happen that year. So get back from the injuries. I'm in my special teams role, and and early on, just as a spiritual man, you want to talk about some wild things. I had just hired a new accountant, and he calls me up while I'm injured the first couple of weeks, and he says, and I know, no, we don't know each other, but just God's been kind of dealing with me about you. He says, you mind if I share something? I'm like, shoot. And he said, God sees your desire to honor him and make his name great. He said, God sees your desire to honor him. He says, the platform you have as a special teams player is not big enough. God's going to make your name great as a wide receiver.
Get out of here.
I promise you. This is like in August, September. Yeah, probably week 1. Just hired him a few months prior to. Knew he was a believer. We kind of shared that when we met,
Yeah.
but just didn't know he was like that. So that was a pretty cool moment. I was having some. I
That's a
was
defining moment. That's
Well.
like,
I'll give you the next defining moment. So that was at the beginning of the year. So you have a linchpin, you have a word, you have a hope.
yeah.
And in light of this journey on the wide receivers field, I'm kind of like have contentment in my heart, but also have this resolve to make an impact. End up being the driest season statistically of my life, special teams wise, and on and wide receiver. And get through the year, and then I have this major glitch in the matrix. My mom passes away as we're in the middle of this playoff run, December.
Mm.
So now all of a sudden I come back from burying my mom. I missed 2 games, and I'm in the game plan. So this is obviously our Super Bowl run. Now I'm in the game plan. Last game of the regular season, we go for 3 wides because Jeremy Shockey gets hurt. We go to 4 wides, and now I'm kind of like we clinched the playoffs against Buffalo, the game that I missed, and it was a 10-6 season. We give New England hell the last regular season game. I should have scored a touchdown, but I had to get over that. And we're obviously underdogs all through the playoffs. So here's your real climax moment. We got a word in the beginning of the year. We have tons of trial, and felt like a barren land during the year. But almost half of that season, I was actually up every single day praying at 5 o'clock in the morning. Me and BB Winans. How about that? On a prayer line because a woman who was pouring into my life, she had put us on a line together, and we were just learning to take authority, pray differently. It was awesome. And so now we're moving up to it. We're in the Super Bowl, and the night before the game, her son was on the team. Her name is Kimberly Daniels. She co-wrote my book, More Than Just a Catch. And that's how I met her. And we're praying. And she says, David, God is, the night before we're praying, she's praying. My wife's 8 months pregnant with the twins. we're believing God for the blessing. And the night before, as we're praying, it just shifts. She says, David, God is quickening your feet. He's giving you hinds feet, like the feet of a deer to jump high. I'm like, okay. Then she says, the Lord is putting spiritual glue on your hands.
Are you kidding me?
And then the last thing she said is, God is going to give you the big play. This is the night before the Super Bowl. And as she finishes up, her husband gets on the phone and says, the world will no longer remember you as a special teams player, but as a wide receiver. Now, I know there was an article.
What are you thinking when they're telling you that?
I'm a believer, so I tell people it's when you're a believer, I tell people just believe God. There's no benefit to being an unbelieving person.
Yeah.
Now, what you have to learn how to do is believe right and believe better. That's it. I mean, like you believe right, you believe people based on their credibility. So even
Yeah.
when you might, that's a credibility issue. But believe that they're not credible and deserve what to believe.
Yeah.
So I'm a believer. So when she shares that, I'm just like, Lord, how are you going to do this? I don't know how you're going to do this, but I believe you. And so, what I did know is when she said, God's going to give you the big play, they had a play designed for me. I said, Lord, I hope they dial this play up, man. It's awesome. And don't you know, fourth quarter breaks open. It's a defensive game. And here we are on the goal line. They dial it up. W whip. And it was like a heavy play action, 34 sell it, W pop pass. And I scored a touchdown in the fourth quarter as a go ahead. And I'm like, Lord, you did it. I'm like, this is it, God. This is it. You did it. And I'm amazed. I'm an unknown guy, little Jersey boy, fourth wide receiver,
Yep.
and I scored a go ahead touchdown in this defensive,
And
defensive.
that wasn't even it.
And that wasn't even it. So Randy Moss obviously comes back. They go ahead and now sets Eli Manning up to become the Patriot killer. And it's amazing. When I tell people about the play, it's two miracles in one play.
Yeah.
Eli Manning becomes Vanilla Vic, and I'm the black guy who can't jump. And it's just amazing. It's just absolutely amazing. And sets us up for that 3rd and 5. And it wasn't, and the cool thing about it is me and Eli actually share the same birthday. I'm 1 year ahead of Eli. We share the same birthday.
Oh wow. Okay.
And there's probably, we just always had a little connection.
Yeah.
He had trust in me because he knew I would always be in position. And
Yeah.
I think it's a powerful thing about trust. When you know somebody
Oh,
to just be credible, you know somebody to be, then there's connection there. So we always had that connection as he was emerging through the years. So to be able to share that coming of age moment with him and this iconic moment with him, we share the same birthday. I'm still waiting for him to throw us a party. That hasn't happened yet.
We'll just hop on his show with Peyton and tell him I want to be. Let's have a party.
Yeah, man. Party on you. You made a whole lot more money, man. I got this moment, but I've been seeing his Caesars commercials and they throw in my
Yeah.
helmet cap. I'm like, could I get some royalties?
He's got his Jersey Mike's commercial.
I'm telling you, man.
Yeah. Wow. So that's huge. So you make the catch. How was the next day?
Surreal. I mean, you're really. I'm not even realizing that I knew I just had the greatest performance of my life. I mean, like I
Yeah.
just want to. I never even dreamed of being in the NFL. Now here I am, a Super Bowl champion.
Did you go hunt that woman down who told you that and say, like,
I didn't have to hunt her down. She was there at the game.
all right, all right.
And we knew we had to tell this story. We
Yeah.
knew we had to get together and do
That's
this book.
unbelievable.
It was remarkable. And I tell people all the time, just the only thing, don't call it luck. God has providence. I believe in providence. Luck is
Hard
finding
work
$20.
finds good luck.
There you go. I'll take that. I'll take that. There's a measure of that, but I said, this was a moment of providence. This was a moment where, time, eternity meets time. And I tell people all the time, they're just moments that in life where something's bigger.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate because this is the game that raised me up. This is the game that gave me identity. And I'll never forget in college, I was being interviewed. I made one of the biggest bonehead decisions. I hit the punter in college, and the reporter's kind of like drilling me about it, doing some. I didn't know what the article was about, And I'm like, well, listen, I'm not just trying to be out there and be a guy. So when I play the game, I'm trying to make an impact. I don't want to just be another guy on the game. I want to be remembered.
Yeah.
So when he actually writes this article, he says Tyree wants to be remembered. So fast forward to the helmet catch. I don't even consider God at this point in my life, but God considered me. And the game that raised me up gave me a sense of discipline, guardrail, and direction. He actually allows me to be remembered as a part of this game for the rest of my life. So when I think about why it's such a intimate, powerful memorial for me, it's because, man, like God dreamed a dream for me that I never dreamed. He considered me in spaces in ways that I never even considered him. And that's why I try to steward it with as much humility and as much honor as I can, because I get a chance to speak to the world about, you know, what's possible.
Yeah.
All things are truly possible. Look at me. Look at my life. Look at my story, from addiction to family restoration to the height of success, but also the lows of lows. Man, like how do you overcome the darkest nights? And I think I have a good taste of everything to be able to relate to a lot of people and provide a sense of hope, well-being, and knowing that they can
Yeah.
be overcomers.
Are you making a movie? I mean, it'd be an incredible movie.
We got work on. I guess I got work to do.
Has anybody talked to you about that?
We have rights for it, so we have. I haven't even tried. I think I finally started having those aspirations. I'm in the storytelling phase of my life, and again, I haven't found the right partner. I haven't necessarily searched hard, but I'm looking for the right, right people.
Just get Eli to help you,
Good idea.
right? I mean, he's part of it.
He is part of it. He's a small part. My story's raw. I'm not a PR. I'm not a PR guy. I'm come look at all the scars, the bruises.
Yeah.
I don't have an image to maintain. I'm raw. I've always been that way. My book reads it. I tell people all the time, man. I had STDs, and I was a nasty dirt dog, and God cleaned me up. So, and the reason why I can share those things is because I'm no longer that way.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
free, right? Like everyone doesn't survive their past, but I'm free to survive and have overcome poor decision making. So just empower people to do the same.
I mean, again, I'm going to go back to me just being a football fan. Everything you're telling me, I'm learning for the first time.
Yeah.
So, for a guy who's been following football for forever,
Yeah.
if I'm just hearing this for the first time and saying, I had no idea this is what was going on, how many other people who were dealing with the same stuff you dealt with don't know about it either that would love to hear it from you?
We got work to do. You're inspiring me.
Wow.
You're inspiring me. I think what happens is when I'm in post helmet catch, there's a lot of stories and documentaries, and there have been
Yeah.
through the years. But we're in a different day and age in relation to the accessibility and spaces where stories can be told.
Yeah.
And back in my day, it was ESPN, it was
Yeah.
NFL Network, and I have
Right.
those kinds of things that people could have access to, but it's at their mercy. And again, when I'm getting to this phase of storytelling now, I know who I am and
Yeah.
what needs to be said.
Yeah,
So
but
we'll
but you
get
know
there.
who needs what the guys who are struggling are the guys who need to hear it. It's really not about football and the catch and the fun after that. It's what you did up to that and
Yep,
who you became and how you changed. Is there's so many guys and girls out there that are struggling on how to fix that and they
sure.
don't know where to go. And your story is just incredible.
I appreciate it, man. Well, I truly believe I exist for them. Yeah, got some, been having a hands full, 7 kids, taking care of the crew. I feel like I got my second wing. My youngest is 12, so we're gonna work on some of that.
All right. So we're a little more time left. Tell me about DT3 Enterprises and what you're
Yeah,
doing there.
it's been an amazing journey. The primary DT3 is primary the brand, and it's truth, transparency, and transformation. That's what you get when you embody myself. Some of the services that we've always provided, of course, is speaking, strategic advising, and some, like I said, some leadership ethos. So I do a little bit of kind of like coaching and mentoring, but we don't really market as much. Primarily more speaking, some ministry stuff as well.
Hmm.
And I'm starting to really move toward, if I, what the way I would call it is well hunting and bringing parties, bringing high performing parties together, working in some packaging work as a strategic advisor. Um, and that's just, like I said, one thing I'm fortunate to know is understand who I am and what I'm good at and what I'm really not good at.
Yeah.
You know, I think what's always been important to me is to kind of hold the line in relation to sacred values. And that again, that starts with my God, now when I say my covenant, my marriage, my family. And so if anything was going to suffer, those things weren't going to suffer. There were business, I've always had, thank God, a great name and opportunities, but I wasn't drawn toward business as a young man. I was drawn toward impact and service. So, I think my desire for God, ministry, serving people, now is leading to bridge building, and there'll be another element of visibility in relation to what that continues to look like in the marketplace when it comes to strategic advising between companies, and kind of making some heavier transactions come to fruition. But it's been pretty neat. It's been 2020. I was in the front office up till 2020 working with the team, and once I kind of got spit out into the ocean, felt like I was drowning, drinking from the hose at both ends.
Yep.
Still got, 7 kids here at home. And so I definitely earned my scars, even in the marketplace, and really trying to determine what's most valuable to you. And I've had to make those hard decisions, and thank God for a dynamic wife who
Yeah.
stuck by me through some of those hard times, even in the last few years. So DT3 is really just me: truth, transparency, and transformation. And that's what you get.
Well, I can't end the show without asking you about Cordell Young.
Yeah.
Tell me about your relationship with him. How'd you guys meet, and what are you guys doing together?
Yeah, I mean, there's few things we're not doing together. I've known him. I've had the privilege to serve him and his family, and he's like a son. He's like a spiritual son.
And he's got 6 kids too.
He followed my lead. I said, "You sure you want to do this?"
Yeah.
But he's a remarkable, exemplary man who fears God. I know his story through Rutgers and some of the challenges and injuries. I met him as he was transitioning out into the marketplace,
Yeah.
transitioning from Rutgers. I could see the pain and how much the game meant to him, and navigating that. And I think our mutual desire to honor God is really what connected us.
Yeah.
And I've just had this privilege and joy to walk with him. And for me, that's what community and faith actually looks like. It looks like belly to belly. And he hit the skills transferred remarkably well from who he was as a high performing athlete at Rutgers to the
Yeah.
marketplace. He's one of the most dynamic professionals that I know. He sees the fruit of his labor in the marketplace. He's just dynamic. And him and his wife, they are, and I couldn't toot my own horn, but by the grace of God, they have given us the space to speak into their life,
Yeah.
to frame certain areas of their life. So it's just really been a privilege, but it's mutual. It's
Yeah.
mutual. It's like being able to be the big brother slash servant to the young family, and watch them take the life and the testimony of their own faith and put it into practice and be dynamic. Be
Yeah.
dynamic. So there's few people that I admire more than Cordell and his dynamic family. They're homeschooling those amazing 6 kids.
Yeah.
I mean, sadly I had to just give it up. They look better than us. They're better looking family than the Tyrees. And we all right.
I don't know. I think you guys all look good together. You know?
But we figured it out. But I'm just so he's one of the I'm proud to know him, and I'm proud of him because it's not easy. Like I know he's talked about the mental struggles.
Yeah.
It's the athlete journey is challenging.
Yeah.
There's no place else to go but to fall off that mountain, because
Yeah.
there's such a tremendous sense of value and identity
Yeah.
as a high performing athlete. And he has made that transition
Yeah.
extremely, extremely well. And I'm just fortunate to be alongside the ride.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what's harder, the mental challenges while you're playing, or the mental challenges when you find out it's over.
Yeah, they're I think it's mostly it's like a state of grief, right?
Yeah.
When and I tell people this athlete journey for most of these men starts very young, right? You're talking
Yeah.
I start when I'm 11, 12, sixth grade. So most guys it starts earlier than that. So
Yeah.
they're grieving. They're grieving a sense of loss. And then you actually, for so many of them, we've disproportionately put our identity in something that we do as opposed to who we are.
Yeah.
And how do you do that? You embody it, right? You embody
Yeah.
a warrior ethos. You embody it. So it's very difficult. And I was fortunate again. If I didn't have this encounter with God, then I probably am struggling far worse. And it was still difficult because I had to figure out not who I was, but what am I going to be the best in the world at?
Yeah.
Right? Like you've been the best in the world at something for a while, right?
Yeah.
And that was the struggle. It's like, man, I suck. And it's not I suck because I'm incapable. It's I have not been doing this. I've been so focused
Right.
on this one thing. I didn't
Yeah.
bridge those skill sets to what was going to be next. So
Yeah.
that was what was wonderful about having the opportunity to serve in the athlete development space is give
Yeah.
back to that community and help them see their sense of value, worth, and hard
Yeah.
skills as well as soft skills that are easily transferable.
Yeah. I mean, I coined the phrase, I don't know if I coined it or I stole it, but that athletes die twice. You die when you stop playing, but you got
Yep,
to live with it.
gotta live with
And
it.
how you live with it is difficult. But then you die in real life and nobody cares 'cause it's over.
It's over. It's
You
all
know?
over.
You know?
So you have to be intentional about how you want to be remembered. And I think
Yeah.
being purpose driven is what moves most athletes. As long as they can connect to a sense of
Yeah.
purpose and meaning, then they're going to flourish. I do
Yeah.
believe that. So, you know, and all of them, each sport is different, but all of
Yeah.
them have those disciplined skill sets and
Yeah.
desire to accomplish something
Yeah.
that brings forth a winning mindset.
Yeah. Well, speaking of being remembered, I mean, you're remembered for some really cool stuff. Now I'm going to remember you for not just that, but everything you've done and overcome and the world you've touched. But there's going to come a day down the road where somebody says, well, David Tyree. And when they hear your name down the road, how do you want to be remembered by them?
You know, my hope, and I think what I've held my, I think there's been places where I've been very brave for God. I've stood for traditional marriage. I've stood on, there's some mountains I'm willing to die on. And I think at this stage of my journey, I want to be remembered as an excellent son to God,
Yeah.
an excellent son to Jesse, a dynamic husband to Leala, and an overwhelmingly committed father to my children. Um, you know, and really the summation of that is having my identity rooted in sonship as a follower of Jesus Christ. And, and I think doing my best to maximize that service and impact in other spaces. So I certainly acknowledge now I'm at a place where my impact is probably, I'm looking to extend the fruit that I've been able to, this meaningful life that I've been able um, to basically steward, right? Steward is probably the best way I can say it. I've been a steward of God's gift and God's grace in my life, and how can that now flow into bigger communities in light of the influence that God has
Wow.
given me through the years? I've certainly told my testimony and stood back, but I think I was never looking for self glory. But now it's just about, man, how can we maximize the possibility of a well-lived life before God?
Yeah. It's amazing. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you to put you on a stage for them to deliver your message, how do they
Yeah.
do it?
Yeah, DavidTyree85.com. Marketing at DT3 LLC.com. And, those are, you'll find all those direct contacts. But Instagram, I'm respectably active. Social media is a lot of work.
Yeah.
Time is one thing I'm not getting back. So until I'm able to hire more people to have fun for me on social media, I'm gonna enjoy my kids and work toward doing some meaningful stuff. But
Yeah.
certainly, website is a contact point, and I can be reached on social
Yeah.
channels on LinkedIn as well.
Cool. Well, David, we covered a lot of stuff. We talked about coming out of high school. We talked about college. We talked about your interpersonal struggles. We talked about the NFL. We talked about the catch. We talked about your faith, your business. We talked about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Is there anything we haven't hit on you think we should cover before we wrap it up?
Nah, man. I think I mean I'm good. There's always more to share, but we'll stay in contact and
Yeah.
build it.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk to you for another 2 hours, but I know you got to go.
It's
But
dangerous.
thanks for being on the show. I appreciate it. Tell Cordell I said hello
I sure
when
will.
you see him. And as I end every show, I say, stay strong.
Truly. Thank you so much for having me.